Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back from the ad break. You are still watching Prime Life. Now, we are having a conversation with Sunny Morgan, and he is a fearless activist who has been at the forefront of raising awareness about the recent Global Sumud Flotilla. Now, as you may know, the flotilla carrying South African and international activists was recently intercepted by Israeli forces, leading to detainment of several individuals. Now, Sunny has been following the story very closely and advocating for the release of the detainees. Thank you so much for joining us on Prime Life, Sunny. Welcome to Prime Life and good evening.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you again.
Thank you so much. Now, can you please give us a brief update on the situation, with the detained activists and how they are doing?
As you know, they were not detained; they were abducted out of international waters by the apartheid Israeli regime, illegally, might I add, and then taken to a prison, first to the Ashdod port and then to a prison after they refused to accept voluntary repatriation. They appeared before a judge and then obviously ordered to be deported. They stayed in prison for a couple of days, and this morning they were officially handed over to our ambassadorial staff, who took them to the border and then repatriated them to Jordan, and they will be returning to South Africa tomorrow at 9:30. So they're all in good spirits. We've had contact with them through various means, and we eagerly await their return at the airport, where we have a reception planned for them. The media and the public are, of course, invited.
Hmm. And please tell us about, how you believe that Israel's actions represent a violation of human rights and, the rights of the activists to engage in a peaceful protest.
It's incumbent on every individual to oppose genocide. It's incumbent on every state to fight to prevent a genocide. And the laws about humanitarian law and maritime law is quite clear. This was a peaceful mission to take aid, food, medicine, baby formula to the starving people of Gaza, and they were prevented from doing so illegally by the Israelis. The rights of people to step in when there's a genocide is entrenched in law. We are, as individuals and as states and as governments, totally, fully within our rights to do everything we can to prevent a genocide. This was a peaceful, non-violent mission that activists from around the world participated in. Almost 500 people from about 44 countries, and they were illegally stopped from doing what was morally the right step to do. And they had to do this simply because governments have failed to do it.
Mm. And how do you believe this incident ties into, the larger narrative of the Israel slash Palestinian conflict?
Well, first of all, it's not a conflict, it's a genocide. Um, this framing of it as a conflict is incorrect, and we advise the media all the time to use the right words. It's a genocide, and it, the Israeli view on it is that it's not a genocide, but it's a genocide not only because we say it's a genocide or because we recognize it as a genocide, but leading scholars around the world, humanitarian organizations like B'Tselem, Amnesty International, all of the leading humanitarian organizations, including genocide scholars within Israel itself, have determined it's a genocide. The United Nations has determined it's a genocide. So there's absolutely no doubt about it. Whatever the Israelis say to justify their genocide of the Gazan people and their illegal occupation of Palestine, yeah, their words and their language is no longer make sense, and people don't believe them anymore. It's a genocide for the entire world to see, and the world has finally woken up. And in some small way, this Samud Flotilla has also lent its voice to the popularization of the Palestinian genocide. More people than ever are aware of it, and in some way this flotilla played its part in doing that.
Mm. And what actions do you think should be taken to hold Israel accountable and also to prevent similar, incidents from occurring in the future?
Well, the first step is to take Israel to the International Court of Justice, which South Africa uh, has done, and other nations have followed suit. That case must go on. Israel must be isolated to the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. There should be no trade with Israel. There should be no sporting relationship with Israel, academic relationships, in any sense whatsoever. The biggest weapon we have in our arsenal to bring down the genocidal state of Israel for its role in the genocide and the occupation is to boycott them out of existence.
Mm. And apart from your advocacy for the Global Sumud Flotilla, you've also been, joining protests in Johannesburg in solidarity with the Palestinian people. Can you please share your experiences with these protests?
Okay, so I speak as the spokesperson of the Global Sumud Flotilla South Africa, but I'm also an activist and a campaigner with the Palestinian Solidarity Alliance. So as a collective, the PSA has been in existence for almost 20 years and has been at the forefront of Palestinian solidarity together with its coalition members. And so my feelings notwithstanding, this is a global call. This is a national and a countrywide solidarity movement seeking the freedom of the Palestinians, the end to the occupation, and for Israel to be held accountable across all sectors, whether it's in the courts or in the legal courts or in the courts of public opinion. They must be held responsible. And ultimately, we will see them held responsible and they will pay reparations and make amends for what they've done to Gaza.
Mm. And how do you believe such demonstrations can be effective in raising awareness and, affect change?
Oh, yeah. So for a long time, Israel's impunity was hidden behind those high walls they built. What has happened now is there's global awareness. So even countries that normally would not place the Palestinian issue high on the agenda have done so now. So across the planet, across the globe, there isn't, I suppose, a country that is not aware of the Palestinian cause, and that's because of popular resistance around the world to Israel's genocide and occupation. Because even before this genocide, the occupation of the Palestinian people, the illegal theft of their land, has been in the forefront. But popular resistance, uh, protests, petitions, talking about this in public, not being afraid to call the Israeli state out. All of this lends its voice. And whilst the ultimate solution will be a political solution, popular support for the people of Palestine is important through protests, through social media activism, through petitions, through raising people's voices. So everything is important and it all works together as a strategy ultimately to win the freedom for the Palestinians.
Mm, most definitely. And I think, apart from the fact that, I mean, we've covered a very important aspect in this interview, regarding the people or activists that were abducted. Now, I think people also want to get an update on, the Global Sumud Flotilla itself, on, what's the update, what's been happening on the other side of the Global Sumud Flotilla. Mr. Sanya, you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm still with you.
Did you catch the question?
Yes, I caught the question. So the
Okay.
Global Sumud Flotilla, for all intents and purposes, this iteration of it, all of the activists that participated in it, 500 were all abducted, and most of them, if not all of them, have been deported to their respective countries.
Mhm.
Our six activists, one has returned to another country, but five of them will be returning tomorrow morning to our Tambo airport. What is most important is that this is not the end of the mission, because even as we speak, another iteration of the flotilla, headed up by the Freedom Flotilla and the Thousand Medellin Initiative, 9 boats are already on the water making its way to Gaza. That's just the beginning of the first phase. More boats over the next days coming weeks will join that flotilla with an attempt to break the siege. Most importantly, there are people on this on the current Sumud Flotilla that is not their first time they try to break the siege. Some of them have multiple attempts, and people have promised to return. I can guarantee that if we opened the register tomorrow and said who would like to go back, all these people who have already been, and not all of them made it to the final boats because we sent a delegation of 10 people, only 6 made it onto the boats. Now, if we made that call again, I'm sure all 10 will, and if not more South Africans will apply to be on the next versions of the flotilla. This is not about this particular mission only, but it's about the objective to open a humanitarian corridor to take aid into Gaza, and that's the objective.
Mm. I mean, thank you so much for shedding light on this important issue, Mr. Sunny Morgan. Before I do let you go, is there anything else that you'd like to add on? Anything that we might have missed?
So one of the most important things is to talk to the listeners and talk to the viewers by saying this: Palestine is illegally occupied by the apartheid Israeli regime, and all resistance to that occupation through the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement, which is the biggest weapon that we have in our arsenal, must be applied. So all of the brands that have anything to do with the Israeli economy, like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Starbucks, continue to support that call and do it more aggressively by making sure that your hard-earned cash is not spent to be complicit in a genocide or to further the genocide, but rather to end it.
Mm. Thank you so much, Mr. Sunny Morgan, for joining us and for your time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, viewers at home. That was Mr. Sunny Morgan, who is an activist for the Global Sumud Flotilla, and he was just giving us updates on the, activists or South African activists that were abducted during the Sumud Flotilla. And I hope this left you feeling informed, but most importantly, knowing exactly what's happening. I mean, we did mention that today is the 7th of October, marking the importance of, the date in which the whole genocide started in Palestine, which is very important for us to keep these conversations going. But on that note, it's time for us to head over to a quick break. We'll see you right after this.